Has just begun. On that inspiring note, without further ado, let's commence with the first panel discussion of the day. Now, if you've ever wondered whether Moore's law can be applied to sustainability or can AI, ML, computer vision find application in sustainability, this and much more lies ahead in the panel on the topic deep tech and sustainability. Please join me in extending a warm welcome to an eminent lineup of speakers. First up, Mr. Sridhar Gadi, founder and executive chairman at Quantella. Professor Vasudeva Verma, deep tech expert representing academia and industry. Mr. Vikrant Varshney, MD at Succeed Innovation and Angel Fund. And we have Mr. Abhishek Srivastava, director at India Partners and Early Stage Venture Capital Fund. And moderating this phenomenal panel will be Mr. Pradeep Gupta, chairman, Cyber Media Group. Thank you everyone for taking the time out and joining us today. Over to you, Mr. Gupta.
So thank you very much, Hardik. Indeed, as you said, this is an absolutely phenomenal panel. I've got some great combination of speakers here. I have somebody who will give us the research and the academic perspective. I have two people who will give the investing perspective, one from the angel side and one from the VC side. And then we have an actual practitioner, a company which is working in this specific area. So I'm really, glad that we have such a tremendous panel here with us. I'm also glad that TiE is taking up this sustainability issue in such a and focusing on it, headlighting it, because sustainability is getting more and more into our entire DNA. It is now important not just in terms of being good business, the social impact. It is also becoming politically very important, as we have seen in Europe. Europe has shown us the way where sustainability is now a key to good politics as well. And I indeed hope that those are the kind of things that will happen here in India as well. So Hardik did introduce the panel, but let me just add a few words about each of my panelists. We have Professor Vasudeva Verma. He is the former Dean of Research at TiE Hyderabad. He is also the CEO of TiE Hyderabad Foundation, one of India's largest technology incubators. He has published a book on software architecture, has written more than 200 technical papers. Welcome, Professor Verma. Abhishek Srivastava, the Director of India Partners. Abhishek's focus is on investment in technology. And prior to India, Abhishek was a part of the investment team at Venture East. His other experience span Scient, PwC, and Deloitte Consulting. Vikrant Varshney, welcome, Mr. Srivastava. Vikrant Varshney is the managing director, partner of Succeed Innovation Fund, venture capital and an angel investor, innovation and economic ecosystem enabler, startup mentor, several things he has done as angels, as an angel investor. He has worked in the VC industry for several years, and he is skilled in disruptive technologies. So welcome, Mr. Varshney. And last but not the least, I have Sridhar Gadi. He is the founder and executive chairman of Quantella, a new age digital technology solutions company, which was awarded the Technology Pioneer 2019 by World Economic Forum. He is working on several projects related to smart cities. He is the recipient of ENY Entrepreneur of the Year Award 2008. Let me kick off by first talking about, I said that sustainability is moving center stage. Another thing which is moving center stage is deep tech. The entire last 18 months have brought technology to the fore. A lot of people who were hesitant in adopting technology suddenly find that they had no other option once the lockdowns were on, and we had to react very, very speedily. So I think one good thing that the pandemic did was that it removed some of it changed the mindset. there were lots of people who had this, the digital transformation has been around for decades, but, people were still hesitant in taking those steps. And suddenly they realized that there was no other way but to do that. And therefore, technologies getting used in business became absolutely a change in the mindset. And I think that is the biggest change that has happened in the last 18 months. And very clearly, deep tech, various things like UAVs and, AI and ML and blockchain and drones. I mean, there are so many different technologies, robotics and NLP and human computer interaction and so on. All of them have started becoming so very important. And I have no hesitation in saying that if I look at the world 10 years from now, you will find that each and every business would have got completely transformed. The way the PC transformed each and every business, the way the internet transformed every business, the way the mobile phone transformed each and every business, the same is going to be the impact of deep technologies in the coming years. So with that background, let me straight away plunge into the discussion today. And let me start with Vikrant to begin with. Vikrant, SDG goals have been around since the beginning of the millennium. Could you share your perspective on the footprint of deep tech on the SDG goals?
Yeah, sure. And thank you for opening this up with me. I must acknowledge that, venture capital, I mean, we run a fund at an extremely early stage, at ideation stage, working very closely with incubators across India. And many of them are tech-based incubators. And we are finding an interesting trend, that if we invest in companies which were related with sustainability, we have little traction in the formative year where investors are showing lesser traction, but those are the companies which are interestingly getting much larger funding in the successive rounds. Our experiences in past working with one such incubator, TiE Hyderabad, which is local to Hyderabad, we invested in a company called Revos, and Revos, which stands for, let's say, revolutionary EV operating stack, which were creating Android for electronic, vehicles. This is probably the one which has got the largest funding. Very recently, they got $4 million funding from, US fund house, from the climate fund. And that started to validate in few more examples that we are seeing. Early stage investors might struggle to understand sustainability as a segment, but I think a very heavy interest is being shown by fund houses in taking interest in those companies which have a strong sustainability angle. That's on one side where we're talking about sustainability centric companies. But otherwise, if there are other companies also which have sectorial focus in other areas, but have a sustainability as an underlying theme, a lot of them are getting, sufficient interest too. Very recently, we are seeing a couple of fund houses even have SDG goals defined, and they're looking for their portfolio companies. As long as they're aligning with those goals, then they would offer and sign the shareholding agreement with them and not. Those practices which we have started to observe in last few months are very encouraging. And I'm sure there will be much more to watch here in this space.
So that's good. Essentially, Vikrant, what you're saying is that good business is good business, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's a very, very positive note to start this discussion. And let me take the other side, which is the deep tech side. And so therefore, Professor Verma, my question to you is that how are these emerging technologies that I talked about just now, how are they being applied to sustainability today?
Great. First of all, thank you for this panel, a very apt topic, and no time is better than the current one to discuss both sustainability and deep tech. And thank you, Pradeep, for coordinating, organizing this fantastic panel. There are several emerging technologies and most prominent one being AI and ML. And this AI and ML with its entirety, I mean, imagine this to be a huge giant with several limbs and several organs and its own glory in all these aspects, right? But then overall, so far, what it has been doing in the sustainability business, I believe is mostly about three, four areas, but I'll emphasize on three. So one, where AI and ML has become really good at is in the prediction and forecasting. If you're talking about energy efficiency or solar technology or anything that is to do with the health of a system that is in the sustainability business, food, water, many of these aspects, right? So, for example, we know that energy efficiency is very, very important for managing data centers. And similarly, predicting and forecasting outcome of anything is becoming a forte of AML. And then also from structured, unstructured data, numeric text, images, sound, speech, videos, and so on. And then the second area I would like to mention is the fault detection and diagnosis. So prognostics, when a system or a component will no longer perform its intended function, right? So whether a solar panel is faulty or not, whether which part of the IoT device or a hub needs what kind of a repair. So these aspects are very, very important, and the AI and ML is doing a great job in those areas. And the third one is optimization of different systems, parameters, this complex optimization modeling. In other words, seeing a system in totality, but not in isolation. So for example, when, where, how to combine various kinds of energy sources to achieve certain functionality or to run a building and so on. So wind, solar, and so on, right? So in summary, prediction, forecasting, fault detection, diagnosis, prognostics, and optimization, I see as the major areas where the AI and ML is making a big impact in sustainability business today.
So thanks. I think that was an excellent model that you have given of prediction, fault detection, and the optimization. So yeah, indeed, and I'll touch upon the human aspect with you later, because I think that also becomes very, very important when we start talking about AI, ML, and so on. So let's just hold on to that particular part. Let me move to Abhishek. Sustainability, when you look at Wikipedia, is defined as meeting the needs of of our generation without compromising on future generations, right? And I think some people say that the generations in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and turn of the millennium have not really done their job because they have not left a planet as good as what they inherited. Okay. So could you share how is Deeptech enabling us to do the same thing?
Yeah, no. So first of all, thanks again, TiE, for having such a relevant topic. Probably become even more relevant, like Pradeep, how you alluded in the last 1.5 years. I think you talked about digital adoption, a couple of other things that we have seen happening across the board in large organizations, all coming up with a vision statement, how they want to see things go green, right, in their own way. And I guess, 1.5 years of seeing the streets completely isolated, they've realized that how beautiful the world can be, without, crowded stuff out over there. I think coming back to your, I'll pick it up from where Professor Verma and to some extent even Vikrant, left. So we are an early stage venture capital fund, and I think let me pick up, no better examples from some of the companies that we realize, doing some of the similar things, right, in their own way. So we have funded a company called is leveraging AI ML. Am I audible?
You're breaking from time to time, but please continue.
I'll go slow. Let me. We have funded a company called Triple, which is IML to build a diagnostic software. I think one of the core reasons, and I guess one of the driving initiatives was the accessibility of good healthcare all across the board, right? We're taking it to the last mile as much as possible. Similarly, we are funded in a company called Steradian, which is using some of the functionalities which Professor Verma talked about. They are building an imaging radar chip as well as system that goes inside the autonomous technology, be it ADAS, be it smart city surveillance, etc. And if I'm not wrong, I think they know Sridhar as well. Being in the similar space, so they're kind of implementing that, and of course, semiconductor 1.5 years. The third company is a company called Self Propulsion, which is more kind of ensuring the environmental consciousness and helping companies go green in their logistics and transportation space, right? So they develop and deploy heavy commercial vehicles and light commercial vehicles which are electrified completely and digified. So I think these are some areas where we have seen Pradeep, some of the initiatives, but honestly, like Professor Verma alluded to, I think it could be a healthcare aspect, it could be financing, where we have seen a lot of proprietary decision making engine coming into play, and extending this financing.
Right. Yeah, I hear you that there are social, there are environment,
which is
there are different kind of startups in which India is looking at investing. So healthcare, you talked about.
Absolutely.
Efficiency, environment, the social good, and so on in terms of fintech. So yeah, indeed, I think that the startup ecosystem has also realized the importance of sustainability and is moving in that direction. Sridhar, you have been working on smart city projects, so working with a lot of government. Do the governments also see and are giving it the same sort of focus that is required to be done? What's your view on the government's focus on sustainability?
Sure. Hello, everyone. First of all, thanks to TiE and Pradeep for organizing this event. Before I speak about government, in fact, whatever we do, end customer is government. Quickly, what we do is we provide technologies for societies at Quantella. And both sustainability and impact are the most close to my heart. In fact, I built a couple of software development companies. I always want to build one product, global scale, which has a huge impact on the society. Coming back, cities and the government focus. So whatever we do is helping cities to be self-sustainable. And if you look at globally, because some of the speakers are global, some of the attendees are global, very few countries have very organized program of smart cities. For example, you take India, Mr. Narendra Modi has created 100 smart cities program, giving 1,000 crores budget for each city. Whereas in some of the other countries, there is no organized program, but they are digitizing certain areas of the technology, like lighting, parking, waste, traffic. What India has done is they brought everything into a single platform so that you can holistically operate the entire city infrastructure. And now you can say, why is it related to sustainability and impact? In these technologies, whatever you develop, there is a clear economical, environmental, and social benefits while providing the best services to the citizens. So it's really picking up because especially video technology is plays a major role. You take traffic or you take safety. With the technology costs coming down, accessibility, adaptability, everything has increased. So I think it will, going further, it will accelerate, but it will come with new business models. Earlier, most of the system integrators were bidding for the projects, taking up the projects. But what happens is governments are not really technology savvy, and you don't have a CTO who has SLA to manage and provide the outcomes. So even Smart City 2.0, which government is trying to introduce in India and in several other countries, so they're looking at what kind of outcomes will I get? I don't care what technology you're providing, of course, as long as privacy is taken care. But by providing this technology, what kind of outcomes will you provide to me, which will help, providing to the society.
So Sridhar, you are essentially saying that the government is very aware of the issue, and the smart city project itself means that they are trying to bring in the different kind of elements of sustainability into one basket.
Yeah,
that indeed is very heartening to hear. And you say that we do require a new business model in terms of execution of the same. Let me move on and let me now look at the areas of impact. Okay, and let me start off this time by Professor Verma. What are the research problems in this area for corporate and academic institutions that we should be looking at? What are the things that we should be investigating, exploring, and so on? And could you also bucket them into what are short-term, what are medium-term, and what are the long-term technologies?
Right. I mean, this is a loaded question because
a tough one.
Corporate research as well as academic research, also like short-term, medium-term, and long-term. Maybe let me take a shot at in a very different way. So immediately, and mostly for industry, but also for academics, a few areas that are very, very important. One is related to edge computing, IoT, and so on. But then but more prominent one is edge intelligence. I believe edge intelligence is going to play a major role in shaping up the solutions that are going to come very soon. So intelligence on cloud is important, but edge intelligence is becoming more and more prominent. And I'm sure, the kind of work and then the research that is being done in corporations like Google, Amazon of the world is going to flow down and then enable more futuristic and more holistic academic research attempts that are going to be made in several places. So this is certainly—
And is the big driver for that the EVs and so on?
Absolutely, absolutely. So the autonomous driving has its own challenges, but then the autonomous driving and then all the even if you're talking about more sustainable, the ways of commuting, the travel, the future of travel, if you like, right? That is being impacted by several, the kind of technologies that are developed at various places, and those who can actually connect these dots is going to be the winner. So many people are making several attempts in kind of, changing the mobility of the future, but including EVs to autonomous driving to all kinds of mobility. In fact, the best mobility is not actually having to move at all, right? I mean, all of us are attending this conference without moving from our places, right? So all these things are going to make an impact. But other than that, right, other than edge computing and edge intelligence and cloud intelligence, you're also looking at, I would like to look at the computational social sciences as a major area. Okay, that's my favorite area, because human behavior is the one that makes huge impact on sustainability. I mean, we are the ones who change the earth. I mean, we change it for the worse, right? So the human factors and human behavior is a very important area to study in the long term and in the medium term, in my opinion, because we know what is called as a rebound effect. So rebound effect in sustainability, for example, you're thinking that you're doing good to the earth, good to the climate and so on, because of using less fuel per kilometer and so on. But then if you're increasing your travel, right, things of that kind. So overuse, because you're thinking that you're doing good, is always going to be a bad thing. So human behavior modeling, and more importantly, the atomic level sustainability efforts, atomic level, that is the most important thing. Like, I mean, what I would like to see is a smartwatch-like thing, which tells you, whether you are doing harm or good to the earth. And then essentially, like, when you make an observer separate from the doer. So these days, the smartwatches are doing this. How much, like, is an observer. Similarly, in these efforts of sustainability. So those are the things I would think as a more medium and long-term aspects.
Good. So now we need an IoT sensor which can tell us whatever action that we are doing is good for the earth or not. I like that idea of having an earth meter. Sridhar, when we look at the smart city, the key beneficiary there is the citizen, right? In terms of the citizen, and you've been working a lot in terms of the lighting solutions and so on. Would you like to share, what is the sort of a perspective of sustainability in terms of, let's say, lighting solutions and other smart city solutions besides that, which are going to be some of the driving areas there?
Sure. So when you say smart city, citizen is at the center.
Absolutely.
While I talk about lighting in detail, so there are 6 top use cases, 7, but it can be more, but every city needs traffic, safety, lighting, parking, waste, water. So coming back to lighting, I'll just take lighting as an example, how it impacts citizen. At the same time, it also creates huge impact on the society, impact on environment, and it makes self-sustainable for the cities. I'll also take you one example on the city, what we have done in US. So when you make a normal light converting into LED and making into smart, it saves 40% on average, in a world. Yeah, there are so many case studies which is proven 40% saving on the energy. Just at Quantella, we have around 1.2 million lights run on our lighting controller and goes through our platform, and using Deeptech, it provides AI to operate this efficiently to bring this 40% saving. Think about 1.2 million lights, 40% saving. So one, there is a huge saving for cities, the cost they are going to spend on the energy. Second, if you're going to have 40% less energy utilization, how much carbon footprint which you are sharing because of that. Then third, once you have lighting smart, so if it's not smart, the way it works out is there are a few trucks goes in and around city everywhere to see if there is any light is damaged. Maybe they'll realize after a day or 2 days, or somebody complains. But now with smart lighting, you will be able to track from a single command control center when there is a damage, or even you can predict using AI models before it gets damaged, because you know the different scenarios. So you can go and fix it proactively. That one, again, for city level, your operational cost of having so many people going around trucks is saved. Second, you are providing a safety environment to citizens because the lights are always on. If you look at crime in several cities, for example, there is a one corner of the town, lights are off and you haven't even realized. Then slowly people start mobilizing, start drinking, start doing all this crime. So indirectly, there is a huge benefit on the crime. So with a single use case, you'll be able to do economical, environmental, social sustainability and run this.
So that's great, because Professor Verma had given the model of prediction, fault detection, and optimization, and you've actually given a practical example of the same thing. How you are actually doing those three things in terms of the lighting solution. So that sort of dovetails very well with the model which is there. So Professor Verma, Professor Verma. Sorry, Vivek. Let me ask you this question, and you referred to it earlier. Vikrant. My apologies.
No, it's okay.
You referred to it earlier that good business is good business. And a fund that I'm associated with, the IVCAP, we actually did find that most of our companies which are focusing on SDG did actually very well, right? So we are now sort of inbuilding it in the entire search process for good businesses. How are angels looking at investing in sustainable businesses? Are they sort of saying that that's impact funding, that's a different bucket, or are they marrying the two things together now?
It's a good question. And I'm actually sitting at the cusp of running an early stage venture capital angel fund, which has 6 sectoral focus. And unfortunately, environment sustainability is not one of the sectoral focus out of the 6 that we have. But conversation like this could even help us understand that some of it could be underpinning rather than a very, very vertical sectorial thinking. We did have 9 sectors which we had classified in the angel network, which is the second body through which we invest. So that's where angel investors make their individual call to invest in companies, right? So we all graduated from angel network to run a fund, but we're still keeping the angel network on. And all these sectors which Sridhar was highlighting, and I started to think on those lines, that they're all rolling up as a part of one such theme, right? The 6 areas that he was highlighting are all focus areas for angel network. But when we were presenting it separately as an environment sustainability and governance area, as ESG, people call it through different names, they were not really very excited to invest in the area, right? They would feel that a lot of that is impact funding, and impact funding for them is not for profit. Very recently, we did even had an education session which purely focused that impact funding could also be for profit. There could still be commercial solution, but the focus is that those commercial solutions are not necessarily encouraging consumers to have a irresponsible behavior while consuming. And as long as that culture is built, it's a sustainable culture. And I think that thinking gradually will see. The fact that I was highlighting that the follow-on round funding in the downstream is much bigger and much attractive. And I think the moment that aspect starts to get, in the early stage investors thinking and calculation, they will see it from the ROI sense also, that, supporting these businesses is not a bad financial call, while everybody would be closer to the ecosystem. And we saw that, in few cases already. We in fact had a very dedicated month to discover companies in the electric vehicle space. When we were trying to identify, we initially brought a few companies purely from the water management, recycling, recharge, and retrain category. But we also then gradually had one session purely around how drone technology can be used to create sustainable solution. And in the last month, we had one purely around electric vehicle category. In that, we had an autonomous technology solution.
Vikrant, I'll come to specific areas in a minute. Okay. But yeah, I see your point at Indian Angel Network. I'm a co-founder there. Yes, it has been the same thing that earlier there were two different pockets, one for impact funding and one for angel funding. But now those two pockets are becoming one pocket. So yeah, indeed, that is a change that is taking place in terms of angel thinking. Abhishek, are you seeing the similar kind of a convergence taking place in terms of, you know, when companies are up once again, is sustainability at the core, is deep tech at the core?
So Pradeep, our fund is not so much, I mean, let me put a disclaimer. Our fund is not so much a sustainability driven fund. And there are a lot of impact driven funds. There are a lot of sustainability driven funds who look at it from that lens, right? For us, like any mainstream, we look at the market opportunity, we look at the team, we look at the scalability factor. But it so happens, like you rightly said, I mean, you talk about SD, SDG. You know, we look at another lens called ESG investing, which is environmental, social, and corporate governance sort of stream. And what we have realized is, again, I mean, ESG investing brings a lot of discipline, both in terms of investment and more importantly, I think in the journey of the company as well. I mean, the portfolio company, right? So I guess, you know, for us, the lens becomes the same. When I talked about that healthcare stream, you know, 6 or self-propulsion as electric vehicle, or gig force on the gig stream, or KISH on the financial, you know, serving the unbanked sort of segment and so on and so forth through their technology. I guess all of these were pretty much looked through the prism of, you know,
So Abhishek, can the lens be a financial performance lens, but can there be a filter of
yes,
of sustainability?
Yes. So I was coming to that. I think what we realized, Pradeep, over the few months, right? What we realized that a lot of these companies actually come out with metrics which are far more appealing and which are far more valuable in terms of showing, and they have to kind of create their own KPIs, their own metrics. I mean, we talk about, you know, carbon reduction in carbon emission, which is a known metric, right, for some of these sectors. But I think some of the other sectors, you know, gig economy is creating its own metrics. Again, you know, the underbanked are creating their own metrics. So that's very interesting frame, right? Which brings a lot of element even for the mainstream investors, where people start using that, you know, fine, you know, while ROI and the financial metrics still remains at the hem of affairs, these metrics cannot be ignored. And I think somehow we have started including some of these things even while selecting and curating, you know, our own startups, right? In the early days. And maybe subconsciously, that's the element of sustainability which is coming into play, but not so much, you know, consciously being driven. But no denying that we have also been observing that guys who are disciplined on the ESG frame, and they maintain that sanity through their life cycle of, you know, different stages of building business, come out to be a lot more disciplined in kind of, you know, building a really, really large business by itself, right, irrespective.
Right. And I think what you're saying will just now get illustrated with my next round of questions. By the way, I'm told that we have little time left. So may I request that we give 1 minute answers for this particular question. And let me start with you, Sridhar. What future smart city applications can transform India?
Sure. I think biggest would be, you know, safety and traffic.
Safety and
more than which use case, I can say that in future, cities without investing anything will be able to make sustainable cities. Today, Paris and New York has lots of money. The kind of technologies they bring, all the small cities can bring in if you plan properly and if you do it outcome as a service model, like the way today's SaaS opportunities are there.
right.
It's a big topic. I'm just trying to limit to 1 minute.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And makes sense, you know, especially as you said that the citizen is at the center. So better sustainability there. Yeah, Abhishek, you know, so just continuing where you had left. So which are the 3 greenfield opportunities that you see for investing right now?
Yeah, no, I think I'll pick up one cue from Professor Verma's, which is optimization still is very, very critical and eminent. While optimization So for instance, it could be, you might have seen companies like Snowflake and all, which is on the data warehousing side. A lot of companies are bringing to help the edge intelligence, inferences, computation, that whole optimization layer. So that's one aspect that we are looking closely. Second is often talked about security. The more you peel, the more you start, learning things as you go along. And third is, to be very candid, we haven't yet opened our accounts yet on the blockchain side. We would love to, not with the crypto. I guess we missed that bus, but definitely on the blockchain side. So these are three, that I still have fairly high hopes on.
Right. And Vikrant, top three sectors, what would you think are the top three sectors?
Yeah, for us, while we continue to have our investment theme from the perspective of doing something different and additional, safety and security is one of the sector that we are tracking as a part of fund. For us, it's a security and regulatory technology. And in regulatory technology, there is a large focus of what all regulator is asking for. And I think this is where some of these goals that we were talking about could also be incorporated around responsible living as well. So we might be looking for a solution in that space, and probably at some point in time, you might find it easy. Parking solutions, we were already looking, but most of them we were finding were more around optimization solution rather than bringing sustainability solution, but we'll continue to look for it. Electric vehicle will continue to be on focus. One of our companies, Rewards, did well, which we did through along with TiE Hyderabad. And I think we're trying to identify a few early stage category ones which are thinking different. So those would be my thing.
So it's interesting, when I compiled what Vikrant you said and what you said, Abhishek, we are actually, and if I add earlier, we talked about health tech, we talked about edutech and so on. I think all these areas that we are talking about are all very well focused willy-nilly in the area of sustainability in some way or the other. So, I think that's a very interesting convergence that seems to be taking place. Professor Verma, what will be the key technologies? Let's look at 2035. What will be the key technologies that will be driving the change at that time?
Pradeep, thank you for giving me this wide canvas of 10 plus years. Like with the edge intelligence and cloud intelligence that we started with, right, with IoT platforms and computational social sciences and so on. Now, I would like to see in 2035, any bodies, non-human bodies, like water bodies and so on, who can protect themselves, like with the sensor technology and so on, right? Roads and bridges that can repair themselves, or at least, inform the authorities where the problem is, and then some repair can be done immediately. And of course, energy efficient, energy aware cloud data centers and so on. But also with the drones and so on, I would like to see the rewilding happening to the sustainability of the earth. I mean, our friend Sanjay Jasrani is very passionate about rewilding, and David Attenborough, like his work, his life's work, is about rewilding and bringing back humans, the human aspect of humans into humans, right? So the technology to empower humans and enhance human life, we know that part, right? But then technology also resulting in disempowering the human life because of our own misdeeds. To solve that, the problems that are created by technology is actually using technology. That's what I believe, and that's what I think we should work towards.
Wonderful. Do you see more robotics as well?
Absolutely. All these things are there.
All right. So, but I really like what you said that, roads repairing themselves, I think would look forward to those kind of things happening in 2035. So as we wrap up this panel discussion, I think one thing which is very clearly emerging is that what we need to create is an ecosystem. And I think what is required for that is a very, very strong government policy, a backing from the government to ensure that those policies are implemented, business to start looking at, as was said, good business is good business, and how different kind of businesses that we do can impact the citizens and impact the society. So I think it's time for us now to build a sustainability ecosystem. With that last thought, thank you very much, panelists. It's been an absolutely wonderful discussion. Really, enjoyed myself conducting this panel, and thanks for bringing out all the relevant points which are so much required in terms of ensuring that there is sustainability in terms of the sustainability, and deep tech is going to be driving that sustainability. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.